I do like the cold weather though too.
We get cold in the winter.
Yeah, maybe I could be I don't know what called snowbird, more like a rainbird.
Right. It's
Hello, viewer.
Spring is very nice. Hello.
Yeah. So we're gonna wait for a few more people to show up before we get started. So yeah, hello to the one person watching out there in the world.
They didn't know we were coming, so here we are again.
I know, we're back again. Last day.
Our friends in other time zones can't participate. Yeah, last day. We've been partying hard for 5 days, every day, interacting.
Bev is she's a party animal. Yeah, I can't keep up.
You need to see what I used to do. I can't keep up with Terry. I was trying to get her to meet some of my local friends.
Yeah, and I love the ones I've met.
Oh, they love you.
Oh,
I know. We don't want you to go. It's going to be really sad. Yeah.
Wild, I was in the YouTube app and now I get to catch the beginning of the stream. Oh, speaking of which, can you read that or should I make that bigger?
Can we get closer? Is that not a good idea?
We could get closer, but I mean, then, well, I don't want to get too close.
Then we'll be really scary.
But I can make it bigger because I don't have to like
bigger's good.
back and forth.
Bigger's good. But this
bigger is better, the Americans logo, right?
Oh, God.
I'm making a joke. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know. That's all right.
I'm using my sarcasm.
Right. No, it's okay. We even went to a dance last night.
Yes, we went to a dance, and I didn't dance because
But you got to see the community. We could talk about
women dance, and it was funny.
And to observe the interactions. There weren't enough, so you could really see some of what happened.
Yeah, it was really as little women there as it was.
Sometimes it's really, really, really crowded. Mm-hmm. So.
And I got to see seals in the water going back and forth playing.
That was amazing.
That was great. Yeah, it was a great venue.
That doesn't always happen. There were Caspian terns fishing and diving right in front of us because the dance is on this barge. It's in the mud. I guess it raises a bit with the tide.
Yeah.
All these creatures, great blue heron
and the singer she had a great set of chops, I have to say.
Stephanie Teal.
Yeah, Stephanie Teal.
Old Scorpio Dyke in her 70s, I think, is quite the guitarist and singer.
Yeah, she's got a presence. Powerful. So yeah, next we've got 7 viewers. We could probably get started talking.
Okay.
I'm sure they all love to hear our talking about our visit. But yeah. So yes, teal herb. We're just getting ready to start this stream. We're going to talk about slander today, and then whatever else comes up in conversation. We're probably not going to go for 3 hours again because, like I said, we're beat.
It was hard to stop last time because of the comments.
Yeah,
it's like that's what keeps me in
chatty people.
But it's nice. But you're used to this. It's new to me.
Well, I mean, kind of. I'm getting started doing a live stream. I used to do this thing called Stick 'em. I did that all night. No wonder I'm. No wonder I got sick living that way. Okay, that's fine. All right. So let's get a slander. Do you want to start?
Yeah. I think it's one of the most destructive things that happens in the radical feminist community, lesbian feminist community, separatist community, and even just among women, even among girls. So it's the weapon of cowards. So those who want to eliminate you and can't do it ethically, honorably, honestly, make up lies. And they go at you and they try to destroy you, harass you, get other people to police and harass you. This is really clear with dealing with the trans cult. So you don't even have the men coming right at you. They have women they have trained to come at you, like the lesbian who was recently beat up by several women who were in the trans cult. And so this happens from other people, but the worst is when they pretend to be your community, like feminists and radical feminists. And some of it's jealousy, some of it, a lot of it, they're threatened by your politics, the things you're saying. And if they can silence you, make others hate you who don't even know you, they can eliminate you. And I think we've lost a lot. It kills and makes radical feminists, lesbians chronically ill. It drives women out of our community. And it was interesting to me to see a woman who runs a site for survivors of being partners with narcissists. That stuff had been done to her. Her Facebook group is wonderful. It's incredibly supportive. And women can just go there, mostly women, and connect with each other who have been victims of this and see others and see the patterns. There's a radical feminist who has a Facebook group that has done tremendous work. She's got like more than 1,500 members, I think. And she's had some bizarre slander. And I've seen her deal with it like over a week or more, day after day, answering the lies. And she does it meticulously. And they just keep coming at her. And it's really clear they're lying. But they wear you down. I mean, I was worried about her health with that.
Yeah, a lot of the time I think it's just about wearing you down and getting you to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I've dealt with when I've had to deal with slander, because often it's like, it's kind of the same thing as a trashing almost. So they're just all coming at you at once, and you have to answer all this stuff, and you don't have the time or energy to, especially if you're like chronically sick, like both of us are. Like it's, why are you doing this? I mean, and I know why it's done. It's because it's about controlling and policing the movement, and people. It's really about status and power and control, ultimately. And if you're doing anything that threatens anyone's place in the hierarchy, the clique, whatever, their little power games that are so patriarchal to begin with, that you must be eliminated. And I did a video earlier this week or last week, about how radical women get pushed out of movements. This is it. The more radical you are, the easier it is to target you, the easier it is to slander you. Oftentimes women don't like what you have to say because it affects their own, ego or whatever, or they don't want to be accountable for what they said or did, or they don't want to have to do the work of like changing themselves or like, working on themselves.
Or just stopping being aggressive.
Yeah.
They won't even do that.
Yeah, which is, it's a lot of the time just about being oppressive. Too many women have chronic illnesses, male. Herb says it's because they're weak, which yes, it's a tactic of a weak person. If you're ganging up on others, you're weak. You're weak. You don't have a point.
Yeah.
Mentally weak people who only prey on people who are chronically sick. Well, I don't know. It does happen to women who are well too.
What's interesting is some of the strongest radical feminists that I know of in our community have chronic illness or chronic pain. It's really interesting. And some friends in other movements, they're doing a tremendous amount of work compared to what other people are doing in spite of it. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But somebody asked, why do so many women have chronic illnesses? I'd say oppression, like in terms of certain groups that are very oppressed, like African descent lesbians, lesbian feminists, who I knew years ago, including Butch's, the high rate of dying early from cancer and other stress-related illnesses. And I know a lot of other Butches have died early, class oppressed also, so race oppressed, class oppressed. And they're just bombarded with oppression to where it weakens your immune system. But there's also increasing things that affect us, which is pathogens, some of which I think are made in bioweapons labs. I mean, that's a whole other subject, but I've written about it on my blog. And the level of pollution. I mean, to me, if you go back, I have a friend that keeps thinking people live longer now, and they don't. If you eliminate like epidemics that happened like years ago, but if you look at listings of birth and death and tombstones, and when there's genealogical stuff, people used to live longer, but they also lived a lot healthier. And everything was organic. There wasn't the level of poison in the water and the food, and that all has an effect. And it's been getting increasingly worse, which I think each generation is more harmed by this stuff. Like I've got really good genetics, at least on my mother's side, but I'm chronically sick, and friends who are, I see more chronically ill women and younger women. Well, everybody almost at this point.
I think the truth of the matter is the environment's pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
Fukushima, I mean, what isn't radioactive?
Right. And women expose themselves to all these radioactive tests, which have direct harm. People forget, damages the heart as well as causes cancer, but they do it because the doctors tell them to.
I'm going to respond to yes, I repeat. And this is, I want to respond to,
Yes,
that just makes me think of the vegans that were attacking our last stream. I just want to say, that's what it's about too. I'm not hypocritical for not being a vegan. It's perfectly in line with my feminist politics of putting myself first above any other cause. I can't do that and be a vegan. And it's about my strength.
And if you want to support other women.
And also I'm chronically ill. Quit fucking policing my diet.
Yes.
And just fuck off.
Well, you were vegetarian for a long time.
I was vegetarian
which
for 14 years.
Permanently.
14 fucking years. And it fucking damaged my health.
It's almost half your life.
Yeah. Yeah. It was at that point, it was over half of my life.
Yeah. And it has consequences. And the other thing is, a lot of the problem that they're not, one of the things is there isn't enough food, so people need to eat just carbs, grains, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
stop reproducing. There's too many people. But if people are ethical omnivores, less animals are hurt and less parts of the environment are hurt. And it's not like grain that could feed humans is going to cattle. Because if you're treating the animals properly, you don't feed them that. It hurts them. So
I don't want to make it about veganism. I just wanted to address that because it reminds me of that. And I also just don't appreciate it's the same, it was the same dynamic that I've talked about quite a bit. It's that smug, superior, like attitude and middle class behavior that just comes out immediately, like appeal to authority. Let me condescend to you. I know more than you about what you should do with your life.
Yeah.
And the thing of the matter is it's just a bully tactic. So I wanted to address that. I don't really want to deal with the subject much. It's not one of my main subjects that I care about, but yeah. This is feminism though, because the vegans are all over feminism, policing and harassing women who aren't. So it is about feminism, if you're fucking harassing women about their diet. So, I mean, it's just, and it's all over the feminist community. Like it's common. I don't want to talk about it too much. That's my point. If you don't like the fact that I eat meat, then you don't have to watch my videos. Right. If you can stomach the fact that I do and that the work I do is good and that you support it, that should be what matters.
I just wanted to add that
I'm not going to promote veganism on this channel because
And don't assume it's the most radical and best way to be with people. But it's really bad if you want to go to a lesbian feminist or conference or event, or a feminist or radical feminist event. You're pretty much forced to be vegan. So for those who are diabetic, have serious health problems, what are they supposed to do? And some of them are realizing decades later that they've been starving the whole time, and it really fuels terrible moods, rage, too many suicides, too much cancer. But part of the infighting that happens and the really nasty stuff is from women starving themselves.
Oh, yeah,
and it goes right in with dieting.
A lot of time, a lot of women, even feminists, are on diets, whether it be veganism or whatever else, and that's affecting their behavior and their mental stuff. Yeah. So anyway,
I appreciate those who don't bring it up, like surfing the turf. And I have some dear friends who are vegan who don't use it to hurt women.
I do. And
thank you. I love them dearly.
Yeah, I love them. And I just, I'm not going to be vegan. So that's just how I feel about that. So anyway.
Slander, but this is part of it.
But it is part of it because it's like
you're not allowed to say no.
I'm not a hypocrite. No, I'm putting myself first. My health.
And you're helping other women.
And that helps other women. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this work if I were vegan.
Right.
I'd be sick.
Yeah.
I mean, I am sick, but I'd be sicker. So anyway.
So the slander thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so slander. I mean, there's so many examples of it. I don't know.
There's something I heard last night and
Yeah,
this
do you want
morning.
to talk about that?
Well, there's so much, and you can be caught up in trying to answer each of the things, but they're like, it's lies aimed to destroy. And what I would like is I would like an open debate with anybody that has any criticism, that we could all talk it out, because it's all behind the scenes. There's closed groups that I'm not in, and somebody comes and says, guess what? They're saying all these things about you, none of which are true. It's like, and then they're speculating about things I've done and said. Ask me. I'm very public. You can ask us. I mean, how much more public can we be? So instead of lying about us or doing weird speculating, some of the speculating I've heard about is happening with known trolls who are likely men posing as women. We also have agents in our movement. That's real. And some who've been around, who know the history a long time, have known where some of the agents have been exposed and have admitted it, that were in the feminist movement, but other places too. Yeah, people make fun of it, but it's real. Like there was.
Anybody who makes fun of that shit, I just assume is like an agent themselves, honestly.
Well, that's a good way to go.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a serious concern.
There was a ship in the Auckland harbor in Aotearoa, New Zealand, called, it was the Greenpeace ship that was blown up and somebody was killed. And it wasn't only about last year that somebody who had done research knew that it was the French secret agents or whatever that did it, because they were trying to keep nuclear testing in the Pacific, which the Pacific should be this pristine area of the South Pacific with less pollution, but it's incredibly contaminated by radioactivity. So the cancer rate is very high. They weren't even keeping cancer rate studies, records in what they called French Polynesia. So one of the French agents, who was a woman, pretended to be a lesbian and got into the lesbian community in Auckland to give her credibility among leftists to do stuff. So that was something I had known about before, but this is going back decades. But anyway, this recent thing a friend told me about was that somebody who was calling herself Rose was saying she'd visited, quote, at my house in 1986, and that I had this 8-point plan. That's not true. First of all, I don't know who that, I know who it was now, but didn't. This person picked, well, first of all, I don't have a house. I never had a house. I was living in a house I rented with Linda, and I was doing political work with Linda and Rustin, and we wrote our book before 1990 and published in 1990. We were probably working on it then. When I found out who this person was, they completely erased Linda. This is just one little incident, so you can see the slander, the lying. I met with this person, if it's true who this is, but their name is not Rose. Linda and Rustin and I were there for hours. Why she picked the name Rose is odd, because Rustin's name in her community was Rose. She was well known as Rose. Then you started using her middle name, which is Rustin. So that is odd too. But what I was accused of saying was absolutely not true. It was in our book that could have been read in 1990. So why is that being used to throw at me now? If you have a criticism, say it, ask me, let me answer. Don't just lie. So with this person, I talked about it in the other video. The three of us met with her for hours, got along great, really supported her for the horrible harassment she was getting in the so-called feminist community in England. The sadomasochists were really going at her. And we got along great. And then she wanted to talk about Butch and Femme, quote. And when she realized for us, it didn't mean role playing, it's trying to deal with having equality between lesbians and recognizing what's going on. She acted like, if you're a lesbian and you tell a friend who has no idea why they wouldn't know you're a lesbian, I don't know, that kind of reaction, that's just crazy lesbian hating, and they run away and won't talk with you. That's what she did. She refused to talk with us and left. And it was like hours we talked and really connected. So she's still like obsessing about this and bringing it up, but what she's saying isn't true. She's not saying what happened. It's like, why do this?
Yeah.
And why use a false name?
I think one thing that I just want to say, since we're here talking about this, is that the lesbian feminists specifically, they did a lot of damage to lesbians, like the ex-het ones. A lot of their theories, a lot of the stuff they promoted, a lot of the ways they treated lesbians, specifically lesbians who were outside of the feminist movement, they created a very exclusionary movement a lot of the time, and they didn't really care about the culture that existed beforehand for lesbians, and they put their own heterosexist gaze onto lesbians, and they didn't do a lot of that work of like figuring out that if they were going to join this community of women that existed, that they needed to, respect it and learn about it and actually understand what it was about. So, I mean, that's just been my interpretation as someone like who wasn't around at that time, reading the history and like using my own fucking brain. It's a problem. It's a real problem. I think women who were, out before like gay liberation, before all of this stuff was going on, before women's lib, they were very brave. Lesbians that were out. I'm a little tired.
And
My
those
verbiage isn't good, but
those were the lesbians that created the lesbian feminist movement.
yeah.
And then the women they helped come out changed things. They brought in their heterosexist attitudes. They brought in their porn and sadomasochism. There's all kinds of stuff, and there's timelines where you can see where things change. In 1979, things started getting really bad, and they were suddenly were into reclaiming femininity, saying they were oppressed for passing as het and wanting to look like drag queens. Which again, I just want to say, if all women stop looking feminine, male-identified feminine, and they stop looking like drag queens, the trannies will have no place to hide. They will have nothing to fetishize. It will be clear that it's completely male. So women have a responsibility for many reasons. And also then the really obvious out lesbians will be less targeted.
Yeah, which is something that you should care about.
Yeah.
So I want to respond to yes, I repeat. Sadly, when I try to respectfully talk things out with others, they get very defensive or shut down. This is pretty common.
It's true.
Sometimes shutting down I understand that. Like I've shut down with some stuff before because obviously you could be exhausted with it, or you could be dealing with just so many oppressive things at once that I just don't know how to deal with it because you weren't expecting it and you don't feel that you should have to explain yourself. But I think that's different. Getting defensive isn't a good idea,
Unless you're being attacked.
If you're being attacked, yeah.
I never quite understand what being defensive is, but I know what you mean in this context.
Yeah, but I mean, being defensive as in like, how dare you criticize me? So I just like,
right.
Who are you to criticize me? Like that's a fucked up attitude.
And there's class.
Class is obviously a big part of why women respond to that. But I mean, I think she's talking about very mild things like, I don't know, just disagreements. I'm getting some more chatters. Hello.
And I always want to talk about everything with anybody. It's like, I don't want to be getting any more abused, but, I do wish, instead of all the lies and slander, say it to our faces, let us answer, let's talk in front of a lot of witnesses. Let's all participate. That behind the closed doors thing is really freaky. Like if you talk about something, like it happened in one of our radical lesbian groups, I don't know, a year or two ago, you bring up something happened in the past, you're being told, no, that's private, you shouldn't talk about it. Well, why? If it's something oppressive done to some of us, it's public. I mean, I know we some things you have to hide and keep secret to protect some people, but if something's been done to you, you have the right to talk about it. But the person that has been the abuser plays victim sometimes.
Obviously, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Oh God, that is just textbook, as they say.
Yeah.
And then yes, I repeat says, and then they say you're trashing them. Yeah. I mean, that happens. If you're like real about something, you get accused of trashing a lot of the time. But really, it's usually like that's a tone policing thing. It's whatever.
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just weak bullshit. I mean, yesterday I got I followed this page on Instagram called Butch is not a dirty word, right? And they weren't that great anyway to begin with. There were a lot of femmes on there posing as butches anyway. So, but they recently posted an image of a like trans identified male that is claiming to be butch. And I commented that I would be unfollowing. And then someone responded to me with some nasty bullshit. And then I responded that, you know, men have been, they said to leave my opinions back in 1995. I was a child in 1995. I wasn't a radical lesbian feminist back then. Just, you know, so it was strange that I wasn't having these discussions back then. Of course, they want to do that ageist crap of your ideas are old and therefore wrong, which is, let's just unpack that. Old is not wrong. Some of the best things last. You know, if it's built well, it lasts. So I responded that men have been disgusting since well before 1995. You know, they've never, or they were disgusting back then too. And then the page or moderator came in and started trying to silence me and was using all these reversals of like, oh, but butches are called men. You're no different than cis men. You sound exactly like a cis man, which that's a made up term. A man is a man. Doesn't matter how gender conforming he is or not. A man is a man.
This is trans culture.
I don't care how feminine he is or thinks he is. So yeah, I mean, and then of course I responded to that with like, you're pulling reversals, gaslighting, playing mind fuck, and I'm not going to play your little game. And then I was chastised for using the term little because that's misogynistic.
For God's sake.
So I'm the misogynist when they are promoting a male as a butch on their fucking page. But I'm the misogynist. It's that sort of thing.
That misogyny is used to silence
and then they
radical feminists all the time, and it's like, what? And then they block you.
Well, I called them a handmaiden.
Well, yeah.
So there was nowhere left to go.
And that's not slander because anybody can see what happened right there. It's true.
That's not slander. That's not
yeah.
But if you do that.
Yeah. The pylons, she's right.
Yeah.
The pylons happen with trans. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, I've never seen a man look like a butch.
No. No.
That's really interesting.
They don't like it.
They just try to take anything that belongs to women, especially lesbians, and they go as far as they can. Like in the Butch Voices conference and group, some of these men got into power positions on the board. And it's like, and that's for those, we may have talked about this before, but those who think you can raise and socialize boys and men to not be oppressive, Toby Hillmeyer was brought to Michigan by his lesbian mothers, learned all about lesbian culture. He's a pornographer. He has videos showing his prick being wanked off, and yet he says he's a butch. He's an effeminate man. I don't know who he fucks or gets fucked by, but he's called himself a butch and got on the Butch Voices board, which is full of sadomasochists and pornographers, and it's very corporate. And butches have no place to go that are safe. You can't do workshops because he gets say, and the rest of them.
Yeah, didn't you try to like put something on there and then they
female identified workshop? They let Alana, who is a sadomasochist who helped get a man into OLOC, which basically has destroyed what OLOC was. Our local OLOC is everything goes through this one particular man.
So yeah, these lesbian organizations have all been pretty much taken over in this way. So nothing is actually representing lesbians at all.
Yep.
National Center for Lesbian Rights, same thing.
It's one of the worst and one of the earliest. But yeah, we got almost nothing left. They attacked Michigan. There's no longer Mitch Fest. I mean, there's all these lesbians that remember it and love it and miss it, and that was and so important.
Yeah.
We had so much.
I can't tell you the number of like lesbians I see just online daily on any of the Mishfest pages or with, you know, talking to each other that say that was the only place in the world they felt safe as a lesbian.
Yeah.
That's important.
It was an international place to connect.
Yeah.
See friends. And well, that's like our Dyke March is coming up. That's been completely taken over. And it's like, I don't want to not go because that's sometimes where I see friends I haven't seen in years. You find out who's died. I mean, but it's like, it's not going to be easy because nobody stopped the San Francisco Public Library exhibit showing bats with barbed wire and axes to kill women that the trainees did, the degenderettes, and they're going to be at our Dyke March. They don't go to the gay men's stuff, and they also have their own trainee march, but they want what we have. Toby Hillmeyer.
They have their stuff, and then they want our stuff, and just blah, 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 blah. No respect for any sort of difference.
They want to destroy us. They want to take everything we have.
Yeah, they just want to take everything.
It's like Silence of the Lambs.
Who is actually addressing lesbian oppression anywhere, right, other than us?
Yeah. I always say it's like the film Silence of the Lambs. They want to skin us, you know, use us to cover themselves to pretend to be women and lesbians.
I know the San Francisco Library should hang their heads in shame. And like, you know, it's interesting, they were promoting violence as well. Like the liberals these days are just, they've lost their fucking minds.
And nobody did anything to stop it. Not the people running for mayor, not the interim mayor. Nobody I wrote to in any, I mean, I know others did more calling and writing, no response. I don't know if the exhibit's still there, but nobody stopped it. They took down one of the bloody shirts that said I punched TERFs, but they left up the weapons.
Left up a bunch, it's all of it's intimidation,
And it's connected with neo-Nazis because the man who did the Die-Cis scum with the tattoo, and they have that one of their signs they carried in the parade that's also at the exhibit, Die-Cis scum. He does a white supremacist blog, right? He's also into cannibalism. But Gallus Mag on Gender Trender.
Yeah, Gallus Mag is your go-to for all the in-depth info about these creepy dudes.
Gender Trender.
Gender Trender.
The archives, fantastic.
May she live on forever.
Yes. Yeah.
Shout out.
We love her.
We love you, Gallus Mag.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking, yes, poverty class Butch doing this work.
Yeah. Again, another. Yeah. And that's another interesting thing. This movement is, often on the backs of poverty class women doing all this work, getting no respect, being slandered, being ostracized, being pushed out because it's easy, because women would rather have some sort of clique than actually have a movement. And that's why all of this organizing is expected to be done top down. Like, we're going to recreate women's liberation, like I've said, from the national. No. And then women need to be creating cells in every place they live. That's how you do it.
Somebody said, has any LGBT group disavowed this violence? First of all, anything that calls itself LGBT is our enemy.
No.
I never asked to be included with my oppressors. Gay men are my oppressors. Bisexual women who are making a choice are my oppressors. And certainly the het men who say they're women and lesbians, and the women who say they're men are our oppressors. So no, they support them. They're afraid of them, or they support them. And all men benefit from what the trainees are doing. And they're het men, the ones who say they're lesbians.
Yeah.
And I think all het men want that option open for themselves, because some of them decide to do it quite late in life, dump the wife and kids,
or not, and just make her say she's a lesbian too.
Yes, and there's that.
Y'all need to stop women that doing that shit with your husband. You are not a lesbian, and you know it. All right, stop it. If you were a lesbian, you would leave your husband and come out.
Yes, and all lesbians need to not use those terms.
All right, so one person said, I've noticed feminist women jockeying for power frequently to be leaders. Could you discuss the fact that hierarchies are antithetical to radical feminism?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. They're not real feminists.
Yeah.
It's like the women who say they're feminists and radical feminists who don't want to discuss racism or classism or any issue of oppression, including lesbian oppression or butch oppression. They say it doesn't exist. They are not even liberal feminists.
Yeah, if you're no, and I
They're
always
right
see
wing.
this going back to like, well, I care about women as a class. If you cared about women as a class, you would fucking discuss all the differences between women, and you would care about all the ways in which women are oppressed and all the multiple oppressions women are facing. If you cared about women as a class. But that is just a generic statement used to shut down conversation, and it's cold speak, and it's just, I'm tired of it. I'm already done with it. It's just anything that's about lulling you into submission and quieting you and shaming you about talking about something that's real. You know, when we were hanging out with Linda, this was something I wanted to put on the stream. We were talking, and I said this thing when I don't remember what we were talking about, but it doesn't matter because it comes up all the time. If you're saying something that's true, they're going to find something wrong with you. It's interesting, isn't it? It doesn't matter, you know, what you're talking about, but like if you're talking about something that's true, you're talking about something that needs to be talked about, something that happened, they're going to try and silence you in some way. And the easiest way is to attack a woman's character. Because women, you know, your character is already, you know, so easy to attack anyway as a radical. You know, like, why aren't you nice? Want to talk about being nice?
Also, are we both lesbians? Yes.
Oh yeah, yes.
I'm a lifelong lesbian, working class, butch, what else? Chronically sick, disabled, what else? Old, I don't know, what else, but yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, I've been a lesbian from my earliest memories, in love with other girls. And that's been, I didn't make the best choices in terms of survival and income. That's what I built my whole life around. Found the lesbian feminist community when I was 19 in 1970. And yes, you're a lesbian.
I'm a lesbian. I came out 7 years ago. I'm I guess you would say, or ex-bisexual. Once I understood that it was a choice, I understood I had to stop. So that was kind of my path. I also was in love with other girls as a child. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, really. I'm class oppressed, obviously, but they know this if they watch my channel.
That's true. They know more about you. That's true.
I mean, they know me. Y'all know me. I mean, that person doesn't know I'm a lesbian, apparently, but come on.
We know, Terry.
Come on. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So.
Being nice is middle class policing. There's this whole thing where you're expected. The majority of people well, say in the U.S., the majority of women are not middle class. We're told we're middle class, but the middle classes have tremendous power in terms of policing how we think and talk. And we're supposed to be these particular ways, or we're called names, or we're shamed. But it's all about policing to make them more comfortable and to stop radicalism and bonding with other women.
Yeah.
So, hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol.
Oh, sweet.
You know, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think too I mean, even though most women aren't middle class, a lot of, you know, class oppressed women want to emulate the middle classes as well in order to be treated with respect. You shouldn't have to emulate your oppressors to be treated with respect. You should be able to be your authentic self, and that should be enough.
It's like trannies men use women to police women on their behalf. They often don't have to deal with us at all.
Yeah.
They send women to do it.
Yeah.
Collaborators or
But
handmaidens.
it's terrible when it's like women who are supposedly radical feminists doing it to you for discussing like an issue of racism or an issue of butch oppression. I mean, that's another reason we connected so strongly, because I think we were both appalled by the like overwhelming overt racism that is prevalent. I mean, I'm talking about racial slurs, y'all. I'm talking about using racial fucking slurs. Even that, criticizing that or not having a problem with that is a problem to some supposed feminists.
That's why I say they're right wing. They're not even liberal.
Well, no, if you're a racist, you're pretty much right winger.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to see some of them became known as radical feminists because they were against the trans cult.
Oh yeah.
And I coined that term, by the way.
Good one. I've been using it.
It's a cult.
It's a cult.
But then as some time goes by, they even betray that, some of them.
Oh yeah, of course. They always, again, because the push is always, like I've said, the middle class is always, what is the good term for this? They set the standard for how things should be. And unless you're actively fighting to keep things radical, unless you're actively fighting to, keep the momentum going, things eventually level out to that, because that's just where they've set it. You have to, you honestly, it's work. You have to push against it. I know it sucks, but you got to keep pushing against it, and it means just having those conversations, noticing things when they happen, being aware, and also listening to other women when they're aware of things that you're not. Yeah, because I know this is strange, but sometimes other women know more than you about things. You have to be willing to give up that feeling of superiority in order to engage in, radical politics.
That's part of the problem. Is what I see. One of the main problems is those with power do not want to give it up. They want to maintain power.
Yeah.
Whether it's about class or other issues of privilege.
Or femininity. Just status, or being celebrity too.
Yeah.
Being a celebrity. Oh God.
Yeah.
That nonsense.
Wish we could just meet and talk with everyone. And it's going to come the habit of being nice.
Well, I did a video how to stop being nice.
Oh, good.
You can watch that after this stream.
That's good.
I have a set list of things you can do to start your path of how to not be nice.
But you want to be truly nice in the real sense.
Yeah.
And kind and careful with women, but.
Yeah, what I see, nice is like a bullshit thing to be. What you want to aim for is real virtues, like compassionate, kind, open-hearted, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So don't try to be nice. Try to be something better than nice. And sometimes that means you have to be tough.
Right. Because it's not really being nice to do what so many do that's pretense and fake. And, there's this whole middle class style of slandering and trashing and being nasty, but it's done in a more acceptable way.
With a smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just, the consistent thing that they do is to call you a misogynist if you disagree with them, which...
It's amazing.
That's like, again, it's obviously we're all here for the same cause. And do women have issues of internalized oppression? Or have women internalized misogyny? Of course, we all do, to whatever extent. But like, it's not a problem that some women have and other women don't. And if you're playing this game of doing that, you're not really. I mean, you're internalized misogyny right there. I guess is what I'm trying to express.
Yeah.
So, and Changeling Royal Guard says, nice people are generally fucking deceptive. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, and it always makes me think of The Art of War. These women act like it's the art of fucking war or something. But if you're familiar with that work, but like that's how they behave. That's how the middle classes behave. Everything is a power struggle. Everything is a play. But we're about dismantling the hierarchies that that sort of thing is built on. That society is built on. We shouldn't be doing that with one another. We should be unlearning that. That's men's rules. That's men's game. We don't want to do that. Hi, Cass and Marty. I got your email, Marty. I will respond as I've been busy.
One of the things too with women who say they're feminists who are downwardly mobile can be really quite cruel and nasty under the guise of they're not being middle class and nice. So then there's that aspect with very privileged women playing that. So
it's important not to be nasty. I think there's a difference between being honest and truthful and expressing how you feel about something, and you know, it's different. I mean, Leah and I got that criticism for one thing, what we're talking about. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to scroll up and get this. There's a lot of people in here I haven't shouted out, but I'm seeing you all, and I'm so glad you're here watching. All of you are awesome.
Yeah.
Revolution. I should read it out. What am I thinking? One last thing I hope you talk about. Why is it important to discuss women's behavior? I noticed that women complain that you spend time discussing women, but aren't some interfering with forward progress? Isn't that important to discuss? Well, the idea that you shouldn't criticize women ever, or that it's misogynistic to focus on women.
I've given up on men. I don't expect men to improve at all. They're not doing it. They can if they want to.
Why are
I don't
you
believe they
trying
will.
to change men if you're a radical feminist?
Where's this?
My opinion.
Oh yeah, you're saying it. Why?
Why is your focus going into men? Your focus should be going into women. We're trying to change men is again focusing on them. They need to change themselves.
And
every human being is responsible for themselves.
And it's not about socialization, that being the way they are. We're not allowed to say that. Yeah. But that was radical feminist
I have many posts about that.
In the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, all these things are assumed to be true now that were not in the 60s and 70s. And if you say what was then you're called misogynist. Like the idea that it hurts us to say women and men are biologically very different, not just socialization, but brains and all. And then they say, well, then you're saying, then that supports a trans cult. No, it's the opposite. That's part of why males can never be female and vice versa. So we're not, all these things, if you say them, they go wacky at you. I mean, they just get really nasty quickly. Like we're not supposed to say we have a choice about who we love. It's the whole born this way propaganda that came from gay men. Like, why did they have anything to do with feminist or lesbian culture? But so you need, no. It doesn't matter how many generations are breeding and raising boys differently, that they will improve. They won't. Women have been doing it for millennia. That just keeps women hooked into males.
The Y chromosome is degrading anyway. I mean, it's on a downward spiral right now anyway. Every generation is going to get worse. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. They're going to get sicker and weirder.
Yes,
that's how it is.
We need to help girls and we need to help lesbians because really lesbians put everybody first. And women, girls and women choose who they love. Nobody's born heterosexual.
Can I just say this? Heterosexual women need to put lesbians first. Stop making us do everything for ourselves. We're women too.
But and lesbians help
and stop expecting that lesbians who are radical should focus all their energy on heterosexual women's issues when it's a choice to be with men. And also it's true, don't give birth to girls either. Stop reproducing. We're running out of time. The earth is being destroyed. Humans are not more important than the other species being annihilated. So there's no reason or excuse to reproduce other than privilege to get privilege. I want to respond to Buzzkill fan. Sure. I experienced this in work, women doing this fake nicey nice to your face and whispers behind your back. It feels like talking to a mask and it creates distress. Max. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry you have to deal with that. I'm glad you understand and I hope you find this supportive and helpful. That, you know, you're not alone in that experience. I said men need to raise boys better. I didn't say women needed to focus on boys. That was my last statement before you wrap up. And it won't work. I mean, there was not the level of porn and violence in the media when I was growing up. And boys were just as evil and disgusting, even when it would have brought shame to their families' neighborhood culture.
It's what they do. No matter how they're being raised. Toby Hillmeyer was raised by lesbians, went to Michigan. He's like one of the worst.
I mean, women have been trying this since fucking patriarchy's inception.
Yeah.
Whatever. You think your one individual child is going to make a difference against the cultural tide anyway, even if that were possible. It's again the delusions that women have about their own power as mothers as well. There was something about zero population was treated as if it was a devil cult back in the 60s.
It was really popular, and then it was erased from the media, deliberately censored.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
And now, if you talk about, not breeding or population control in any way, you're just like considered to be some sort of like psycho. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times, like the immediate response is, well, what happens if people just stop breeding? Do you think they are? What's wrong with getting a few people to stop breeding and to do something else with their lives? The few people that watch this.
They always act like it'll be the end of the species, like
it's not.
7 billion increasing. No.
Yeah, no. And maybe we could do something, it's just, I don't know. And then of course it's just, the ethical dilemma of also bringing like girls into this world, considering just how it is for them.
And in terms of lesbians having children, bringing girls into a community that's 85% boys is horrific. Some of these I'm not sure what they mean.
I know. Have I done a video on celibacy? I think I've mentioned it in videos. I haven't done one on celibacy itself, I guess. I mean, I've had periods of, self-induced celibacy, self-induced. I've had periods of chosen celibacy because I wanted to focus on other things, but I think celibacy is a good choice for women as well who may not want to love her just for whatever reason.
Yeah,
it's not a good idea, And a lot of times, a lot of women aren't given the support that it's okay to just be single. There's so much pressure to couple up, even on like lesbian pages. There's so much like, propaganda about like you won't be happy until you find, there's all this like privileging of coupledom over like being single, and it's why is that? Because it supports the system at large to couple up and to like go along, and all the money that you spend with that as well. And obviously it's easier for capitalism, etc. I don't want to get in all those reasons, but you have to think about this stuff. Like, is it nice to see lesbian couples celebrated? Yes, but we should also celebrate single dykes too. And any woman being celibate is a good choice. Much better than sleeping with men.
But women don't want to do that. I mean, women act sometimes like, I have to be with men because I don't feel like a lesbian. I mean, they're being lesbian hating because usually most females, if they're around other females growing up, little girls will be in love with other girls. They have to teach themselves to accept the horror that is heterosexuality. But women don't want to consider celibacy often because it's so much less privileged. Heterosexuality is so rewarded on so many levels.
I mean, my old boss was a celibate woman, and she was one time after Thanksgiving, I think we were working together. And she was just telling me about her Thanksgiving experience and how she got the fucking whole conversation of, why aren't you dating? Why aren't you in a couple? And like this, it was another, she went and had Thanksgiving dinner with a couple, right? This heterosexual couple that hate each other. They're bickering the whole time, making it really awkward for her sitting there. And then they're fucking pestering her about why she's not in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, why don't you figure out your relationship first? I remember too, Iris. I remember teaching myself to be attracted to boys. Before that, I loved girls. Yeah, same.
And the media is full of embeds, and I mean, there was this whole thing done in the 60s and 70s. There's some books about, there's a book called Subliminal Seduction, and about how media ads would be pushing certain things that were not on a level that people were conscious of. And it was to sell products, but it's constantly happening, both overtly and in a hidden way, pushing heterosexuality, and for women to think men are attractive when they're repulsive. Oh, Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you get some validation on this channel about your choice not to breed.
Yeah,
Because you're not getting it anywhere else, are you?
that's the truth.
Yeah. And it's a good thing that you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you for the world.
A few women in my consciousness raising group have recently chosen celibacy, which is a good start. It is. And it often can be the path to, like, you know,
Yes.
one day possibly becoming a lesbian.
And it's good to have some time away from having been heterosexual.
Yeah, to work out your shit and not project that onto your lesbian
Exactly.
lover.
There used to be workshops like unlearning classes and unlearning racism. I've never heard of anything unlearning heterosexuality. They come right into our community and dominate. And at events, what?
We should write that. How to unlearn
Yeah.
your It's pretty simple. Just get real. Stop lying to yourself.
But think about it all
Fortifying
too.
yourself.
Stop, like, I mean, you can go to lesbian events and you think you're with a bunch of women. They're talking about their ex-husbands, their boyfriends, their children, their grandchildren. I mean, it goes on.
Oh, it's so boring. I've been stuck with lesbians just showing me their grandkids. And I'm like, why are you showing me your fucking grandkids?
If you got pictures of rats, show us rats.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Or just talk to me about ideas and stuff. Don't talk to me about your freaking dogs or your, like, our time together is precious anyway. We should be, strategizing.
It's part of dominating
Yeah.
and enforcing. The idea of overpopulation being the reason for climate change is not a distraction. It's destroying the earth. I mean, yeah, there are some very rich men who are doing the most damage, but it's way beyond what should be happening. Humans do not have the right to do what's happening to the earth.
Your parents are pushing kids onto you and you don't want them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't have them then. Because the worst thing you could do is have a child you don't want. That's fucked up. A lot of people do that. Think about that, what that's like. It's bad enough having a child that you do want, but if you don't want him, Jesus, how cruel.
And most don't.
And they know too.
Well, that's true. Most are doing it to please their families. I mean, so many are desperate. They think, I mean, I know lesbians who had to reproduce thinking their families would finally love them. It didn't happen. If that's the price, I mean, that's a sadomasochist relationship.
I mean, yeah, I've seen
there.
a lot of lesbians go ahead and then immediately have it because they wanted to have a kid. And it was clearly about getting all the status. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's some of them in there. I don't know who's who. I'm sorry. That's just how it
Just
is.
looking at some people. Yeah. Well, women breeding needs to be blamed because it's women could stop patriarchy now. When women we're starting to talk about all this like 50 years ago. It could be over now. Yeah. It could really be. And if women truly stopped reproducing at that point, the earth would not be being destroyed on the level it's being destroyed. It could be irreparable at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that's serious.
Yes,
and we can't stop the big corporations. Women can do stuff.
It seems like we still can't talk about a lot of things with other radcoms. I really dislike, can I just say, how it's having a fucking child, choosing to bring another life into this world and create another human being is treated as if it's not an active choice. Abortion is legal in the United States.
Well, just don't fuck.
Yeah, don't have sex with men.
And
I don't know what to say about that. It's an active choice to create a life. Like it's treated like it. Oh, whoops. That's not how it happened.
In terms about, do we understand what women like about men? They get privilege. Yeah. I don't see much else. I mean, women
are with men for the status and privilege it gives them. Most heterosexual women can despise the men they're with. And, it's just repulsive to watch.
Oh.
Can you not be gross, Marlo dual screen?
Is that a man?
I don't know.
Marlo's a...
Well, I don't know, because it's hard to say with the names.
Right. Somebody was inferring that we're blaming women rather than men. I don't see the point about talking about what men are doing. I mean, I'm against everything they're doing, yeah. But women could stop it. We can't stop men. We can't stop the corporations. Yeah. We're against it all.
That's why we're talking to women here about the choices you make with your life and what you can do with them. And we're trying to get women to make better choices, you know, and to realize the freedom they do have. You have a lot more freedom than you think. You know, don't feel coerced into having a child you don't want.
About being repulsed by male behavior. I was repulsed from my earliest memories because I saw these boys just being nasty in ways that girls weren't. I mean, occasionally some girls were not nice, but they weren't sexually assaulting and torturing and killing animals, which is what I saw in my neighborhood, which was not acceptable. It's a kind of a shameful thing when their families find out about it. So the whole thing, I don't think girls would ever be attracted to males if it wasn't pushed and expected. And girls police each other too. That peer pressure is strong. Head couples always looking happy at the grocery store.
They do, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot women can do. I mean, patriarchy could end now if women decided to.
I don't know what to address here. Oh my God, MD.
What am I saying?
Um,
Oh, dear God.
I don't even want to read that out loud. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry you had to live with that level of psychological torture.
Me too.
I mean, and it, you know, that's
another thing when families have girls and then they have boys.
Yeah, I wasn't around too many boys, luckily, but I remember like my dad had a girlfriend who had a son who was a few years older than me. And I remember him mutilating my Barbies one day, like popped all their fucking heads off.
It's so dangerous. And that's a threat
to you. And then they have them weird little fucking necks.
That's a threat to you. We're both only kids. So Slander today, and a lot of my friends, strangely, we find each other. But yeah, growing up with boys, oh my God.
I know, they do freaky shit. I was followed by boys. They threw rocks at me.
Yeah.
It was terrifying. It hurt. You just didn't want to be alone because it was just always some sort of rapey scenario was going to be fucking enacted. It's just, I mean, or you just never knew when that was going to come out. When is he going to get rapey?
When is it going to really hurt you? You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's.
So, I mean, yeah, it's very strange, you know, that there's this whole push to just then have girls betray themselves and other girls. And I remember my girlfriends and I, you know, like being probably preteens at that point, where we're expected to be interested in boys and having to like think really hard and long about which boy we might like, and then kind of convince each other that we liked him, and like just all of that bullshit. And we were just trying to help each other socialize into the heterosexual model. But at that time in my life, I was in love with one of my friends. So why? If only things had been different. If only we'd been more, I don't know, brave.
And often when women have, and even feminists have children, they will prioritize the males way over the females. And if their son has sexually assaulted their daughter, they often will support the son, which is pretty horrific. But a friend of mine, his mother, said she thinks that is true.
I mean, that's one thing I think that ties into slander is like also about women betraying women, ultimately. So there's all these ways that women betray women and betray girls, you know, which is even worse because they have no power. Or even less power, I should say. So a lot of women that get betrayed have little power as well. But yeah, when you have none, not even the legal status of adulthood, that's a real problem.
And girls have power over other girls. My cousin, who was 4.5 years older than me, when I was 12, told my mother to keep this girl I was in love with away from me, because the girl I was in love with was the same age as my cousin. So they were about 16 and I was 12. And she spotted that she was a lesbian. She was a young Butch. And I was madly in love with her. Luckily, my mother liked Rosemary and was like, nope. She never stopped me from being with anybody. One of the good things about her. Yeah. Yes, isn't it weird women birth our oppressors? Yes. Yes.
It is weird.
Yeah.
It's not just weird, it's the whole system.
Yeah.
That's your whole purpose as a heterosexual wife.
Who else does that? What other oppressed people are supposed to reproduce their oppressors?
Well,
I can't think of any.
No. Nayako, can you please stop with your bullshit right now?
Thank you.
No.
Asking, well, everybody can see this, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, like, I know
Trolling.
you think it's, I mean, I know you're just trolling. Oh, you're not, you're serious. Well, if you're serious, that's a real problem. It's not,
Why do you want us to talk about men in sexual ways?
yeah, why are you getting off on like harassing lesbians in this way?
Yeah,
Because that's what you're doing.
exactly.
I mean, it's not funny.
You don't think we get it in the rest of the world?
Yeah, I get it every day. I don't know, because he's, I don't know, probably in love with me or some bullshit. Why do you think? Yes, I repeat.
What?
Why is this guy always here? Is what she said. I mean,
how many of these are men?
I don't know. I don't know how many of our viewers are men, but yeah. It doesn't matter. It's, well, it does matter, but like,
Using testicles as a description of courage is really offensive and female hating.
Bevja's chapter 4 on Butches was amazing, by the way. I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should talk about that maybe a little bit. I really appreciated that chapter too. I kind of recommend it to everyone who's kind of, I think a lot of when people hear about butch oppression, a lot of them are like, what? Because the whole line in the LGBT queer or whatever bullshit that most heterosexuals are exposed to is just that, complete reversal, and they use all of these terms to describe.
And lesbians don't know even what a butch is. I mean, because of who has the money and access to the media, most of the little there's these different like photo exhibits and things that are online, and almost anything that's portraying butches in any kind of media, they're actually femmes. Most of them are femmes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of overlap with sadomasochism, as if that means somebody's butch. So it's very hard to find real information because they present these really horrible people, or they play horrible roles, like Leah Delaria in Orange Is the New Black is like a horrible stereotype of butches. She's not a butch. Not a butch.
We mentioned this in the last live stream too, but I mean, I got a lot of harassment on Twitter from lesbians for saying she wasn't butch, and they were even tagging her in it to, come after me. She said she's not butch elsewhere. She's obviously not butch just by looking at her. I don't know why that's a problem. Why are you obsessed with? I mean, the problem with this is just you don't have an oppressor playing the role of someone that they oppress, period. I mean, with how do the fucking trans cult freak out every time there's a cis man playing a trans woman in a movie or something? They freak out. But this happens to butches all the time, portrayed by femmes.
I was thinking there's quite a few femme lesbians who look really dykey in the media. And there was another one last night which was Masha Gessen, who was on Joy Reid's MSNBC show. I'm not sure. She's Israeli. She's like this, I don't know if she's a journalist, but she's very interesting in terms of like fighting against the right wing and Trump and all. So she's just somebody who's on there and interviewed, and there are quite a few around. So, and then there's the ones that are in makeup who are trying to be more acceptable, but are still clearly dykey, but femme, like Rachel Maddow and Ellen DeGeneres. Yeah. So what about testicles as offensive? Why on earth is something that's part of a male body that is part of what men need to rape used as a symbol of courage? And then some stupid women try to make it be feminized or feminist by switching and saying, oh, somebody has ovaries if they've done something courageous. I did an article in my blog about language and terms, and that's
Yeah, language
needs
is
to
really
stop.
important. We do need to think about the language we're using. Like, I don't know, recently kind of been getting into it with women about the term sister. I don't like to be called sister. And I've made it clear that it's about relating familially. And I think as feminists, we need to not relate familially because the family is a coercive institution ultimately. And I want to have relationships with other women that are based on mutuality and consent. So
no real butches are not being erased. Butches are all ages. Butches still appear. Butches appear as always. Butches have always been there. It's about, as you're growing up, rejecting femininity and not being part of it and not fetishizing it. And Masha Gessen's head, I don't know.
I don't know who she is, so I can't comment one way or the other.
She sure looks like a lesbian, which at least it's nice to see somebody look like that.
Yeah. So if she can look like a lesbian, why can't you?
I can't. Everybody, all women. Oh dear God. Somebody said grow a pair. That's what was about the testicle
that's what it was
comment.
being responsive. Can you please stop dominating the conversation? I really don't want to have to fucking actually go in and police
Which one is this?
these men that are dominating the conversation.
Yeah.
Why are you talking about Noam Chomsky? I don't care about him.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, I hate how radical feminists promote that
Exactly.
guy because he said one thing against porn once. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's against porn, like every leftist should be.
So, you know, wonderful men will go away. The whole world will continue worshiping you.
So that just reminded me, though, we should talk about the slander, too. You were
Yes.
slandered as not caring about, I've seen it multiple times, not
Oh,
caring
right.
about exited women.
Yeah, that's not true.
So we should talk about that because that's a pretty intense slander.
Yes.
We should address that.
So why are they doing? Well, they just make up these weird things to discredit me. But of course, I'm against prostitution. Or I'm against women being captured and forced against their will to sexually service males. It's not my political work because no one is doing anything specifically for lesbians as a movement or individuals. So that's where my political work is. But that's not what the slander was about.
It's just a way to discredit and act like someone's not actually a radical feminist because they're not like focusing on what you think they should be focusing on when there's so many issues that women are facing, specifically lesbians are facing.
Right.
So
should we take out people saying for him to quit it?
Yeah.
That's like he's been trying
you're
from the
going
beginning.
Yeah, you're going in timeout, buddy. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry, but I just, feminine socialization hits again.
That's right. You're right, Manders.
Not nice.
No one cares.
You could have learned something, but you're a dick, so you won't.
Oh, he's pushing pricks on.
Yeah,
same old shit.
That was gross. That was unacceptable anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
You're
right,
Manders. I agree.
All right, Masha is a lesbian.
I thought so.
Praise be.
You got to find a picture of her and you'll see. I mean, I don't think she's Butch, but she looks like a dyke. And that's like, what if all women did that?
I want to respond to Cass.
Okay.
The majority of women I see transitioning, girls transitioning are fun.
Yes.
I find that butches tend to realize gender is bullshit pretty easily. Do they get pressure? Sure, but I mean, they seem to resist it much more than femmes do. I mean, a lot of this transing that girls are engaging in is stereotypically feminine self-harm behavior.
Yeah.
Bev is on Facebook for those asking about her social media presence.
I'm not locked out for like most of last year.
That's another thing too. We should address that. Like you offend some people's egos, so they are ruthless in how they try to silence you. I mean, taking a woman off of social media like Facebook, where she's doing a lot of work, it's a political attack, is what it is. And it's also a social attack, it's about isolating her so she's not getting the interaction that she's used to. I mean, it's totally fucked up.
It was like at least 9 months last year, and there was a stalker who has multiple aliases, that would dig up stuff from way in the past. We had to shut down all 5 of our groups, and we've started up 2 again, but we had to hide the history and lose members because we didn't know who was using a different name that was in there. So they would find things from years ago. Because the whole thing with Facebook, when you get a reprimand, you can't reply, you can't do anything. They just take you out. You get a warning, then there's, you're out for a day, then you're out for 3, then a week, and then it's 30 days, and then it's every time. So they would find something I said against the trans code. It was pretty mild, like years ago, and they would send it to Facebook. It would come up on my screen, and I'm out for another 30 days. As soon as I'm back, they would do it again. So, and I wasn't the only one. They've had a big effect on our community. So a friend is dying, you can't communicate with her if you don't have her email. Yeah. And a friend of mine's dog died. She was heartbroken, and I wanted to be able to write to her and give her support. It's just horrible. Yeah. Oh.
Which one?
Oh.
The feminist your father warned you about. Getting women banned from Facebook is a favorite tactic of pseudo rad femme Kathy Brennan. I mean, you need to look at women's behavior and what they're doing and make a, informed choice about if they're, I know there's so much to address. Do you want to address that?
Well, first I'm going to say Kathy Brennan has threatened me. I'm not surprised. She did some, I probably
Another
can't.
Woman who's not Butch.
Like a multi-millionaire who was a payday lender lawyer. And she really tried to destroy one of our best bloggers. And I don't know how much I should say, but some still link to her and think she's real. She basically tried to copy and steal from one of our best bloggers and take everything she had. So it's pretty public. Maybe I can talk about it. She bought.
I don't know, because then she may come out with this thing.
Is that not a good idea then?
I mean, I don't know. I think we've said enough.
Okay. But yes.
The information is out there.
I hadn't realized she could be behind that, but yeah, absolutely, of course.
So watch women's behavior.
Yeah. Do I know this person? You know her?
Who? I haven't heard from her in a while, but I'm used to her being around and commenting and stuff.
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
And this is the thing, stuff goes on, and it oftentimes, if a woman has status, power, privilege, she can make it go away. You have to consistently fight to keep information out there, and it's the same thing. I don't know. A lot of the times, I think it's important for women to warn each other about certain individuals, that sort of thing. Obviously, you're going to make your own choices, but you need to, step in and let women know, what's the background, what has this woman done, if she's done anything too, and be truthful about it as well. Don't slander anyone. Talking about what someone did is different than slander and trashing. So be sure to provide receipts if possible, as they say in the internet, which Bev is good at keeping a lot of them. She keeps a lot of information about things that happened, which is another reason why she's targeted and silenced.
But the histories, some of the history, if you know something, it's like to have a tranny male friend in what's supposedly a lesbian only group and keep it secret while he's making fun of lesbians. It's not somebody we can ever trust. That's just one thing. And then when one of the lesbians protests, she's kicked out. But there was something else. Yeah, if anybody wants to reach me through Facebook, and then who knows when I'm going to be locked out again, we can share email. I can provide some information. So there was something further up to answer about
the person who said they were
that you're Butch now and used to be femme.
They transitioned, then detransitioned.
How does that make you Butch? It's a choice in childhood.
You're not Butch.
No. We can talk about what it means and why, but you're not. It can't be. And why would pretending you're a man and taking hormones and God knows what else you did make you be Butch? The majority of women who are saying they're men are femme. But it's a myth that it's butches. Butches, young butches, I'm sure, being targeted and isolated, and their families would rather have them be identify as male than be lesbian. I've seen that, but it's still, yeah. The thing about knowing about certain people
Stuff
that are
happens
harmful.
offline, and sometimes there are no receipts. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Yes, I know.
That's true, and there's also stuff that you don't want to even get into because it's like a lot of it's personal stuff that happens as well.
But if you can
So,
share stuff, you can help others deal with it when
Yeah.
different things are involved, whether it's physical abuse and you don't always just believe something you hear either, because often abusers will charge that somebody else is. But yeah, to support our community, we need to get as much information as possible.
Be wary of anyone coming in who thinks they know everything out of nowhere as well.
Yes, yes.
The person is responding, is that etches? Oh, right, sorry, obviously you're using different definitions of butch and femme.
Right.
From me.
Right. It's based on like our chapter in the book, which is many lesbians around the world believe it's not the mainstream idea. The mainstream idea is very butch hating.
Yeah.
And about femme as being closer to normal and butch as being the freaks. But I always say butch is what is closer to what
the freaks, sorry.
it's closer to what all
We
girls and
are.
women would be without patriarchy, and it's a decision made in girlhood. And it's about rejecting femininity, but then everybody says they're rejecting femininity.
Yeah.
Gavin Grimm, who's that?
I don't know who Gavin Grimm is.
It's a butch. I have no idea.
I don't know any butches that have transitioned. I never considered transition. It felt very isolated though. That's true. I don't really know butches that have transitioned. I'm trying to. I think it's.
I know
rare.
some, but
yeah,
not.
it's
nearly.
much rarer. It's the majority of the time it's femmes, and so I get really annoyed with this radical feminist line of, oh, all the butches are disappearing. I'm like, they're not. They're here. Support them. Love them. Give them, what they need, and
Stop harassing them.
Fight butch oppression by defeminizing.
Exactly. Yeah, the more you look like a dyke, the more you help all lesbians and all butches and all
Take
women.
on some of that oppression for yourself. Lighten the load for other women.
Yeah.
Gavin is the trans boy who was backed by ACLU and sued school for back their math test. I can't comment on this. I don't know.
How is that a butch? A trans boy?
Yeah, trans
boy. What's that?
I don't know. It's a made-up term.
Well, many women say they're butch.
Daughter was butch or said she was, and she transitioned. Okay, there's a difference between saying you're butch and being butch. A lot of women say they're butch, but they're not. They think that because they're a top, they're butch. They think that because they don't wear makeup, they're butch. They think that because they put a fucking bandana on their head and make a weird face and take a selfie, they're butch.
Yeah.
Like, it's nonsense. It's about posing, and it's not about really understanding the differences. Like, or the lib femme definition of the soft butch. I think a soft butch is just, it's kind of a term for like usually a class privileged butch I've seen that's like, it's more acceptable because she has money.
And that's why I coined the term hard femme, because the term being used for extreme femme was high femme, which is a compliment. Yeah. So I coined hard femme, which is those who look like drag queens.
Yeah, but
and
now
there's no reason.
They celebrate that shit now too, though. On the internet, hard femme is like this gender category that women aspire to be. It's so gross.
That's no surprise, but women need to stop it all. If they're not, they're causing tremendous harm to girls and women. And girls grow up thinking that's what they're supposed to be.
Can I just share that a dude was demanding I accept his gender identity, which was a gender beyond gender. Damn it. Hold on. Which was a gender beyond gender.
I gotta use it.
And he shoved my face into a pillow, and while the usual male violence happened. Oh my God, I'm sorry. So yeah, I mean, it's a gaslighting tactic. They have pricks, they can rape just like any other male, and they do.
And they say they're
okay. So this chat's going a little quickly. Let's the
blogger Dirt, who is extremely female hating, feminist hating. It's a little further down, I think.
But aren't there also lesbians who do the femininity? That's what we're talking about. I think you should be silent.
The majority are. The majority. Oh, he's back?
Yeah.
Go away. Go away, prick. Go away.
I think you should be
How does he get back?
because it's on a timer.
Okay. So the next one is,
All right. Okay.
so he's taking up all the space, so we can't see who
You're
else.
taking up all the space. The chat's going fast enough as it is. We're trying to respond to things, and
Yeah.
you're putting nonsense, and it's just
Can we
disrespectful.
remove him?
I mean, well, that will just remove his comment. That won't remove him. This will keep him quiet for a while.
Okay. So I want to get back.
Congrats on growing back your mustache as well. Isn't it nice to reclaim your face?
It's great.
Yeah, I love my
great.
mustache. I'm never getting rid of it.
It's very
I got rid of
nice.
my mustache for years. What the fuck was I doing to my face? My poor face.
So who's the person talking about dirt? I want to go back.
Yeah, I want to go back and read what they said about dirt.
Discuss Bush is being pressured to transition as a straight woman, obviously. Oh, just have to listen to lesbians about these. Yes.
They are pressured, yeah.
But
Yeah.
dirt is very female hating, feminist hating, lesbian hating, self-hating. And
She was mean to me too.
well, me too. She said I wasn't Butch because I'm not into hard femmes.
I've heard her say you were a self-hating Butch because you're not. As if that is what it's about. As if a Butch can't be with another Butch.
Or, I mean, she said that probably because I said she was a self-hating Butch because she is. Why is she into hard femmes? I mean, she has this whole weird contorted politics, or she did years ago, because I don't read her now, that it was lesbian feminists who got het women to come out when they're really het. So that's why they've gone back, so many of them, and have fucked over lesbians.
No, that's a choice they made to do that.
Yeah. So if
your lover betrayed you, that was a choice she made.
So I don't trust or believe anything dirt says.
That was her choice.
And Butches are pressure to transition. It's a shame she's that self-hating because she is Butch.
I mean, yeah, I did love her blog back in the day, but just dealing with it was very hard.
Yeah, being Butch is chosen very young.
Butch is a state of mind, I think, like rejecting femininity is more than wearing no makeup or different clothes or cutting your hair short.
It's been closer to what all girls and women would be without patriarchy.
I mean, I think it's about refusing to be colonized in that way. Yeah, from an early age, just resisting that.
But Butches can be self-hating too, and accept some of the cons, though not others. It's very hard, especially
just
growing
like
up
all
alone.
oppressed people.
And other oppressed people, like for the class oppressed, you grew up often in a family culture, people that are like you. If you're Butch, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And that's true for femme girls and other young lesbians too.
Okay, let's see. All right. I love your mustache, Sherry. You are you.
Dirt is this blogger who calls herself Dirty White Boy, B-O-I. I don't know. She's a mess, but she's been against the trans cult.
She's been against the trans cult for years. She's one of the first bloggers to write about female transitioners and how it was a trend in that way. She used to do trans trending like every Friday. She would post like all of these new YouTubers she was finding and bloggers that were just teenage girls transitioning. And yeah, so it was important work, and it is important work, and a lot of her work still is, important in what it was and what it's done against the trans cult, but like, yeah. So
whatever.
What else should we talk about?
Other topics. I don't know.
No, we don't want to go as long this time, obviously, because we're kind of tuckered out. But is there anything else that you would like to have us address or talk about while you're
to that name, yeah.
Dirty White Boy. Oh.
She's so self-hating. Well, first of all, transitioning isn't real. Trans isn't real. Transgender isn't real. It's a game.
I should read their
It's a game. Like the people that say they're, all of they're trans dragons, they're trans paraplegic, transracial when they're not.
Why do you think women start dating men once transitioned? Because a lot of the hormones actually oftentimes will affect women's sexual drives and stuff. And a lot of, so I mean, I've seen it a lot where like females who take testosterone who previously didn't really have an attraction to males will start to have this like weird, insane sexual attraction to males that's like pathological. And then they try to get in on that gay male community and harass them when they don't want to sleep with you either.
The whole trans thing is female hating from
Yeah.
every end of it. Whether it's women wanting to be men, it's clearly female hating. They don't want to be who they are. They don't want to be us. They don't want our oppression. They want privilege at our expense. And the men hate women, or they wouldn't be saying it. They hate lesbians.
They
to
have
want
a
access to
perverted
us.
fantasy of what being a woman is. They
Yeah.
want everyone else to participate in it too.
In their fetish, yes.
Yeah.
So everything about it is going to be male worshiping and female hating.
And that's the importance of not going along with this bullshit either, and the importance of saying the right pronouns as well.
Yeah.
When you participate in saying a man's pronouns, like say calling him she, if he's an autogynephile, you're giving him a little boner there. All right. I just want you to remember that.
Thank you. That is really important.
That's part of the fetish, is to get others to participate in it and go along with it. So I mean, it's I don't know. It's frustrating that we have to even have these conversations about this.
It is, but we can't get away from them. They've taken over our community.
Carol says, I've been called a transvestite.
Oh,
Richard tried
wow.
to make me feel bad about my fashion choices.
Oh, that's our Carol.
Well, can we just say that we love Carol's fashion choices?
She's a gorgeous, handsome Butch. We love her. Oh, she's making this all possible.
I know. Thank you,
for Cherry
Carol.
to visit.
Yeah.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
We love Carol. She's fun to go to parties.
She's a great dancer.
Isn't she fun?
She's fun.
She makes you feel safe and protected, and she's so wonderful. I love Carol.
So yeah, who said that to you? We'll go get them.
Yeah. So the thing about, if anybody, you all want to help women, girls, change, like stop the trans cult. Don't play along for a minute. Women are terrified. They're terrified of being shamed, driven out of community, being physically attacked. Do not call men trans women. Do not call them she or her. Do not call women trans men. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you believe Rachel Dolezal is a Black person? I mean, the Black community was incredibly strong. Why has feminist women's community not have that level of courage to say, this woman came in and is appropriating and is not Black, not culturally, not physically. She sued Howard University for discriminating against her for being white. And then she's later in a job making money and getting on television being the so-called Black activist. So anyway, but she's not been supported at all in that, except a few of the women I know, actually, who are afraid to call men, and they call them trans women. Some of them kind of think, well, Rachel wasn't so bad.
One woman said, we never
White
had
women.
true solidarity to begin with. That's why it's so easy. True. Women betraying women. It's a problem.
But that's true in other past cultures too, where different ones turn on different ones, and they want to look like the privileged culture.
Yeah, like all of it plays into. I hope that the videos I've been doing this year will give you some insight into this.
Yeah.
Some words for naming it, because it's been stuff I'm studying for years, obviously, of being involved in all this activism. Cassie M says, the other day you said that radical feminism will never be mainstream, but doesn't that mean that there will always be women suffering in patriarchy? Well, what is patriarchy? It's men. It's male rule.
Yeah, if we, patriarchy could be ended right away.
We could end it, but are we going to?
Yes, I did hear about Rachel. I saw that film. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's also our inherent, the feminist your father warned you about, it's also our inherent lack of boundaries and the ability to enforce them. How can the average woman believe that we can say no to trans? We can't say no to anything.
We say no to a lot of things.
We say no to a lot of things.
All the time.
So
and
just
we need to say no.
no.
It's about, what are you afraid of? That you'll be ostracized, that you'll be called a bigot?
You're going to make it easier for more women to step up too.
Yeah.
A lot of us, we've been doing this for a while. We've been challenging this for a while culturally. We've been putting out material, talking about this for a while, and we've gotten fucking hate for it. But now look at it. There's even more and more women coming out. I mean, this is how it is. You have a responsibility to do this.
And we have an international community. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get to meet each other. If we had enough money, we could be able to pay to visit and stay with each other and have gatherings. But we found each other. There are many of us.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's important.
And if every woman does it, it'll stop the trans cult. If no woman goes along with it, they couldn't do what they're doing. They couldn't have taken over our groups without collaborators. Every single time.
I've had a lot of women complain about this with me too. I get asked my pronouns all the time at work. It's so sexist. It is.
Oh God.
They're asking you. They're consistently policing you by asking your pronouns.
Yes.
And they're training people to do this.
Yeah.
Like it's commonplace in Portland. So many offices. The whole fucking university culture. They start the fucking classes a lot of the times with asking people to go around the room and say their fucking pronouns, which is a waste of educational time for one, which you're paying for, mind you.
That's right.
You're paying for that bullshit. Secondly, when you should be getting educated, because it's obvious what everyone is and what pronouns you should be using. But secondly, it's about indoctrinating and normalizing this behavior of consistently asking people about their fucking bodies. It's weird, and then they're normalizing referring to people to they if you don't know their pronouns. Never refer to a single person as a plural. Okay? If you understand English, you understand why that's a problem. And it's also erases you. It's like the thing with the gender marker X as well. It's it's neutering as well. Stop, neutering ourselves as women. We should be proud that we're women.
Exactly.
Be proud that you're not male.
Nyako, here, sorry, go away.
Oh, y'all are talking fast. Many women live in a fake and self-objectified version of womanhood for real through femininity, which makes them ready to believe a man can experience the same thing and qualify as a woman by doing so. And yes, and you see this in women's bathrooms when there's a transsexual in there. What do the women do? They go compliment him on his shoes, his bag, his femininity. It's a way of bonding through femininity. You need to cut your ties with femininity. Femininity is the problem.
Absolutely.
And that's all you have in common, what you buy.
It's all fake and false, and some of it's really unhealthy. So an all-girl camp now lets in males. That's horrible.
That's horrible.
That's so dangerous for the girls.
It's dangerous for the girls.
Yeah.
And just, disrespectful. Girls deserve to have things in this world, They have nothing. They deserve to have things that are their own.
In Ireland, the trans...
yeah, they've been complaining since the new abortion law. Like, we got this, we voted for this, and now you owe us. Like, nonsense that the trans cult are doing. Like,
how about universal vasectomies? Castration. Most men who say they're women, by the way, do not have surgery. Many don't take hormones. Some do, so they have the fake breast they can play with. But let's have if they want it.
I know.
I know.
Oh,
I know. The thing is, if women are disgusted enough, it's easier to say no. Yeah, the males seem less scary because they're following male rules of femininity, but then they're even more dangerous. Their violence rate is supposed to be the same as other het men, but I'm guessing it's way higher because there sure is a lot of murders and rapes, and there aren't that many of them. Sorry.
No, I would say too. I mean, when you have a paraphilia, like a sexual paraphilia, as they're called, like autogynephilia, for example, it's usually you're likely to have a pretty degenerate, violent person, just in general. So, and
they're being more open about it since they're getting away with stuff like the exhibit.
Yeah, I mean, they keep getting away with it. They keep pushing the boundaries. They just keep letting it slide, and then the culture keeps shifting, and then we just become more and more accepting, and then we have lesbians getting attacked for being lesbians in supposedly queer spaces.
They are really
when
scary.
lesbians have had everything taken from them.
Mhm. They are really scary. They are really dangerous and overrepresented among rapists and serial killers. I think so.
Well, Ian Huntley, the fucking child rapist murderer in England, he's transing out now, and they're going to put him in a women's prison.
So did
And
Richard.
he's been, has multiple, there were multiple times when he tried to rape adult women as well and got off for it. Or he did rape, in some of those cases. Like, he should be in a female prison with vulnerable women. Female prison is bad enough.
One of the very first serial killers in the U.S., Richard Speck, later was taking female hormones and doing the whole pseudo transition thing.
Well, I feel like we're talking this subject to death.
Okay, we can go into.
I'm glad that people want to talk about it, but I mean,
Yeah.
I just get upset, honestly.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about something else.
Let's talk about something else before we go.
That's good. Well, back to slander. I just want to say, if you hear anything that makes you upset with another woman or lesbian, try to get specifics. Don't have it be they just say these. Like usually what they do, they don't want to do specifics.
Yeah,
they just want the person to be hated. So they throw out the stuff that's just nasty. Ask for specifics and ask the individual to explain it. And if you get them both talking, the one that you can trust is the one who won't give you information. If the other gives information, if they both do, you can pretty quickly, hopefully, see who's telling the truth. Watch how they treat others. And don't have it be that they're bad because they're blunt and honest and direct, because they're class oppressed, like we're doing here.
Yeah.
We're not wasting time just, I don't know what, pretending. Yeah, you can see if you want to watch. And also, they're often narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths. Say no to them.
And see how they act.
There's somebody we talked with in this thread. Say no to her and see how she acts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, that's very interesting to find out.
Yeah, that's usually a good way to tell someone's character is if you tell them no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was just me going back to the slander thing.
I understand. I want to respond to Amlali Danav.
Sure.
This is what happens. I have struggled with situations like that in the community and tended to withdraw in reaction. I have seen so many of my favorite radical feminist women withdraw because of so much intense pressure and the gaslighting. And it's from women who are supposedly on the same side as you.
Yeah.
Or just the silencing and intimidation through wielding of status and celebrity and power. When this woman right here, Amlali is brilliant. She has great insights. I adore her, what she has to say. So and it hurts me as a radical feminist to not be able to interface with her or other women like that. It hurts us. When we lose radical women, it makes it harder for all of us. So we have to support each other. So also, if you're dealing with slander, it's good to reach out to someone too that's also a radical that you trust. Don't try to face it on your own. I want to say that.
That's really good.
Don't think you should bear the burden when it's if you're being trashed, if you're being slandered, you should reach out and ask for support. Not necessarily that, someone has to go in and defend you all the time, but just talk to you, make sure you're okay, because it does have an effect on you. It's hard enough doing this work and dealing with slander of mainstreamers and people outside the movement, but when it's women who should be on the same side as you, it's even worse. It's even more disheartening. It's even more frustrating. So that's my advice about that. Reach out for help and support. Don't try to go to your community. And there are women who will support you. And I've said too on videos I've talked about trashing. You can always come to me if you've been trashed. I will talk to you.
Yeah. And you'll find more friends. You can really make some very close friends through some bad experiences. And don't leave feminist groups. Most of the groups that I see listed as RadFem or RadFem to me is usually somebody that's liberal to right wing. But the radical feminist groups that I'm aware of, for the most part, except ours, on Facebook, well, there's a couple I could think seem real. the others are not remotely, and they're run by trolls, possibly agents, and we know some of them, some of the groups. So that is a really effective way of destroying feminist community and getting women to give up on feminism. Because I see so often, it's like, I don't identify as a radical feminist because they're racist, they're classist, all these things that it's like, they are not radical feminists. You can, if you are, why give up your identity because there's somebody lying about who
radical
you are?
Feminism is worth, fighting to maintain the integrity of, And I've vacillated before too, where I just didn't want to be associated with the radical feminist movement at times. But like, honestly, this is the radical feminist movement. So,
yes, you are.
Yeah, we
As
are.
well.
It's us, and it's what I've been doing for years. And it's
Many
like
others.
I know, I'm going to keep doing my thing, and I'm going to keep doing it well. And
Ruth Greenberg is still trolling and doing really dangerous stuff and going to places.
The Ruth Greenberg thing, and she fucking like came up and started talking to me when I was in the UK. Like, didn't introduce herself, was just like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" And I'm like, "Who the fuck is this weird lady?" Like, and she's like, "Oh, it's Ruth." And of course, I didn't know her real name too. And I was like,
okay. She was Leslie Smith.
Yeah,
Ashley
Greenberg,
Wilkes.
and then she was like Leslie Smith, and like, she said some of her other aliases, and we had already had problems. She knew how I felt about her, but she did that narc move, narc power move.
Yeah, I have friends that suddenly she's going to go to some European lesbian gathering, and they're not feeling safe to go. And who even told her about it? Gender Hammer. Who's that run by? That might be one of the groups.
It sounds familiar. I don't know. She had this one that was about radical feminism, where the cuddly radical feminist group, cuddly radical feminist group, where they just eviscerated radical feminist theory over and over again. Their whole purpose was for them to take radical texts and basically say it was all bullshit because feelings.
Yeah.
And women were fucking participating in this, like feeling safe and coddled and held through something may be nice, but it's not radical feminism.
And it's not what happened.
And
it's not what they did.
They also did a bunch of shitty, uncuddly things.
Yeah. Well, when Ruth Greenberg, I exposed her because I found out that she, under all these aliases, playing a double game, pretending to be against the trans cult, and then pretending to be a tranny, pretending to have tranny children when she has no children.
She did. She trolled Mumsnet too.
She did.
For years.
Said she had 4 kids when she didn't. Well, she trolled me for months.
And it's so funny because she's in with the mommy cult in the ragtime community. That's all like motherhood is in her privilege, but she lied about being a mother.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that disrespectful to mothers? I would never do some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a mother. That's not my experience. Mothers have a right to have their own space to talk about being feminists and mothers.
Right. Without her getting in there and giving bad advice on how to raise kids and babies. But anyway, she's around. She's scary. She's one I'm real sure is a paid agent. There's somebody else. You're going to remove that one. Okay.
Well, he's
not very nice.
He's not very nice.
They're definitely agents. But this is true in every radical community.
It's in every radical community, okay? Yeah. If you are doing any political work that is, in any way potentially threatening to the system, to any sort of thing, you're going to be infiltrated. They're going to be looking for the radicals. And the agents will try to spot the radicals and push them out and turn people against them too. So be aware.
When Malcolm X was assassinated, his bodyguards, I'm not sure how many there were, but quite a few were with the FBI. Yeah. And they were interviewed. They actually were trying to protect him. He was assassinated because of Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan, and because he went public.
Exposing the sexual abuse of teenage girls by the honorable.
Yeah, and maybe younger girls too. Yeah. And he said he was going to be killed for that, and he was. But it was interesting. I saw some of them interviewed, and they were FBI agents, and they were crying because they didn't want him to be killed, but they were there spying on him.
Yeah. You play the devil's game. You make a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
You will lose.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, but agents, there always have been agents.
Well, I'm getting kind of tired. I'd like to
No
wrap
wonder.
this up. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All
is there
right.
anything else you want to say before you go, Bob?
I don't know.
I think you've done great with this stream.
You too.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
too.
thank
Well,
you.
yeah, of course.
Thank you for everyone who showed up and contributed to the discussion today. Slander, real problem. Let's address it.
Yes.
And also, like, there is no woman too important in this movement to be criticized. Stop putting women on these pedestals, because when you put a woman on a pedestal, eventually she will fall. Don't do that. We're all equals here, okay?
That's contrary to basic feminism. Early
Yeah.
feminism and lesbian feminism, women didn't even sign things they wrote, so there wouldn't be stars and leaders.
Mhm.
And then it became this academic thing with books. And when I first went online, it was very disturbing because I would join some group that was supposed to be radical feminists, and almost no one could write a sentence without quoting some star. And I'm like, what
Oh, I know.
the fuck is going on here?
Thankfully, it's gotten a bit better, I feel,
Yes.
since that time.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we've definitely come a long way, and it's mainly it's because of a lot of the work that you've done and so many others, and me, and others. You
We
know,
get a wonderful
we've got a
community,
great community
all
out
ages.
there.
Oh,
All
thank you.
ages,
Thank you so much.
various races, various nations participating in this. So it's so important to love the international, like, yeah.
That's right. Academia's done a lot of damage. Oh.
Yeah, well, okay, definitely feeling like this was a good stream, and yeah, thanks for showing up, everyone. And
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you should definitely not go to RadFem UK events. RadFem, there you go.
Yeah.
We're radical feminists. We're not RadFem.
If she's not an agent, she's been doing some.
I'm a cool femme. That's what it makes me think of.
Right, exactly.
Sakes, you know, and then and then we have to think about what does femme mean in terms of the lesbian community. Like, it's not a good term. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, everyone.
One other thing about Greenberg, when I went public about her, I was immediately sent a computer virus that was in the guise of an email pretending to be from Facebook. That had to be from her or one of her friends.
She tried to fish. Yeah.
And my virus protection caught it so that I knew where it came from. It was from her.
Ooh. All right. We are sure.
We have